Tyrese Maxey has officially arrived on the NBA superstar stage. Not only is he averaging a career high in both points and assists this season, not only is he coming off his first All-Star appearance at the age of 23 years old, but he's received some notable praise from some of the brightest stars across the league that I wanted to make sure I highlighted in this video. I'm going to break down some of the different ways I think he's taken a stride forward, how much that changes things from a Sixers perspective, from both a on-court and maturity standpoint as it pertains to Tyrese. But I want to kick things off with this quote from Kevin Durant here. During one of his media availabilities during All-Star Weekend, he was asked about what the next generation of NBA superstars could look like. That as the torch is beginning to be passed from the LeBron James, the Steph Currys, the Kevin Durant, to this next generation of superstars who really could step up. And Tyrese Maxey was right near the front of his mind.
Look around the league and you see, I'm going to miss a lot of guys, but you see Shea, Ant, Book, Luka, Tyrese Maxey, Tyrese Halliburton. There's so many guys that are inspiring the next generations of hoopers after them to become basketball players that you can't just pinpoint it to one or two.
So just some really high praise for a guy that I think is recognized more highly amongst his peers than I think has become the theme across the NBA as a whole. That as far as fandom, I don't think Tyrese Maxey has quite reached the level of stardom that I think he deserves. Now, when we're talking about this guy, this is the same dude that is getting dap-ups from LeBron James during All-Star Weekend. LeBron James telling him that he's proud of him. That it does not get much more of a ringing endorsement than both Kevin Durant and LeBron James to throw your stamp of approval on Tyrese Maxey, and there's plenty of good reason for it. That if we want to dive in just to his stats this year, talk about the statistical growth that we've seen, that this season, his first All-Star year, Tyrese Maxey averaging 25.7 points per game, 6.4 rebounds, which is a career high and a huge stride forward in that category, also adding 3.7 rebounds, 1.0 steal per game. We have seen the three-point percentage slip a little bit from 43.4% last year to 37.8% on 8 attempts per game. That's still a really good number. I'm still pretty happy with 37.8%, but I do think this is a number that will climb up for the remainder of the season. That now that there is some more floor spacing with Buddy Hield, another offensive weapon, that Buddy Hield showing that he's capable of handling some of these playmaking duties, that Kyle Lowry will play more of an impact as far as being a true floor general. That while Patrick Beverley had his moments where he was successful at it, I do think the best version of Kyle Lowry frees Tyrese Maxey up to play off ball in a way that wasn't quite the case on a consistent basis here in Philadelphia. If I'm buying a stock right now, it would be in Tyrese Maxey's three-point percentage. That I do believe when looking back at it, that 42.7% back in the 21-22 season, 43.4% last season, and 37.8% so far this year, I do think that climbs up for a guy that's a 40.2% three-point shooter in his career. But nonetheless, there's plenty more that should be discussed about Tyrese. And I'm going to begin by sticking with the on-court area of things here. There's a couple stats that really shine to me and I think encapsulate just how talented Tyrese Maxey is. I want to start with this one here. We have the rim shot making from Tyrese Maxey, that he is the only player in the NBA with finishing talent above the 95th percentile, catch and shoot three-point shot making above the 95th percentile, and averaging 5+ assists per 75% possessions. Yes, this is a very specific stat, but this is something that shows just what a unique weapon that Tyrese Maxey is on the offensive end. To have that type of balance of both attacking the paint, having that type of impact, while being that catch-and-shoot superstar, that is what this team needs from a balanced standpoint offensively. And when specifically talking about finishing at the rim and some of that productivity, take a look at these numbers here. Top 5 in rim shot making across the entire NBA. Number 1, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. No surprise there. Number 2, Zion Williamson. Also not a huge surprise there. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, number 3. And number 4, Tyrese Maxey, just slightly ahead of LeBron James in that category. Now, the biggest takeaway there to me is think about what the common denominator with all these guys outside of Tyrese. That we're talking about 6'8+ guys with freak athleticism and guys that play around the rim. That is not Tyrese Maxey. That most of his damage is done with his creative finishes, these little English off the window or these up and under ability that he has. And one thing that I don't think gets recognized so much in Tyrese Maxey's game is when you think of him as a basketball player, his defining trait may always be speed. That threat of being able to blow past the guy opens up his entire game. And when you pair that with a guy that can be a sniper on the perimeter and also has a little bit of mid-range game and has that floater and all these other things, you just get the complete basketball player that he is. And I don't think Tyrese gets enough credit for how hard it is, the rate that he attacks the basket, going 100 miles per hour, and still having that soft touch off the glass and able to finish, that is not easy to do, and he does it at such a high level that I will say it with my chest that Kyrie Irving is the only player across the league that I think is a better finisher than Tyrese Maxey. That we've seen some of the more creative off the glass spins and things from Kyrie. I think Kyrie does it in a smooth standpoint that it looks a little cooler and people draw attention to it a little more. But we're talking about just the effectiveness of finishing. Tyrese is very much in the same conversation, and I don't think gets quite that respect. But beyond just the on-court ability, there's been a growth in maturity from Tyrese Maxey that is so intriguing and important to me. So I wanted to highlight this specific quote. This came right after the Sixers trade deadline, obviously bringing in Buddy Hield, bringing in Campaign, and Tyrese Maxey was asked, both Campaign and Buddy Hield highlighted that Maxey was one of the first guys to reach out from him. I believe the first guy to reach out from him once they were added to the team, and Maxey just had a really cool outlook on it that I wanted to highlight here. Maxey said, quote, I looked at it as there's Joel, Tobias, and then it's me as far as the longest tenured Sixers. Maxey said, I've been here 4 years, me and Paul Reed. So I was looking around, we traded Furkan, and I started doing the math. I'm like, whoa, I've been here for a minute. I just want to create a culture of when guys get traded or when guys come in, they feel welcome. It's hard. I've never been traded. I've never been on a new team. But I just know coming in as a rookie, it's hard to fit in. It's hard to make new friends. I just wanted to reach out to Campaign and Buddy and just tell them welcome. That's why I wanted to come out here when we played the Hawks, even though I was sick, just to tell them hello. Tell them that we appreciate them being here and that it's a brotherhood here. We're going to show love, and we're going to go out there and compete as one. I love every bit of that answer from Tyrese Maxey, and I think it shows a lot about him at 23 years old in his fourth NBA season that he's already beginning to step up into his leadership standpoint. That I think more so in basketball, as a point guard, that's a little bit of your responsibility. And I think one of the criticisms that has been thrown around at Joel Embiid has been his leadership style. That there's been such a state of flux within the Sixers organization, players constantly changing throughout the year in and year out, even dating back. It's gotten a little better as far as continuity and guys sticking around in recent years. But if you want to think back towards the beginning of Joel Embiid's career, we're talking about the Ersan Ilyasovas, the Marco Bellinellis. It was a constant rotating just core of guys built around him. I do think stability is a good thing, and I'm glad that Tyrese Maxey is the guy setting them. That when Joel, that is the critique, that he's not this vocal leader. He's not that guy, organizing team events and things like that. Tyrese Maxey seems ready to step up to that challenge, and he's still very early in his developmental arc. I think, so often, because of the expectations of this team, because of the timeline of Joel Embiid, we think about Tyrese Maxey as if he's a finished product. Think about what this kid's going to look like when he's 27 years old, 4 years from now, when he continues to develop. He's legitimately developing at a rate I've never seen a player develop at before. If you want to think back towards why he dropped in that draft, why he fell all the way towards the 21st overall pick, it was because of the shooting. That people questioned the shooting, that he shot below 30% from beyond the three-point arc in college, and flash forward very shortly into his NBA career. And by the way, stands a little bit of the test that he shot 30.1% his rookie season, but then the next year, 42.7%. And the following year, on higher volume, 43.4%. Both those numbers land in the top 5 in the NBA as far as three-point percentage. That is a huge testament to the work he puts in. And it's not just as a shooter. We're talking about this year, look at the leap in playmaking. Going from 3.5 assists last year to 6.4 assists this year. I had some serious questions going into the year, see if Tyrese Maxey was capable of being a true point guard. What is the ultimate outlook for him? Is it a guy that can be a floor general? Is it a guy who's just best as a microwave scorer, as a score-first option on a team? There was no doubt in my mind that he was a building block, a guy that I'm comfortable with, but what exactly is the best version of him? We're going to find out a little bit more of him of this next stretch. We're going to find out what the ceiling of Tyrese Maxey is a little more now that there is this extended period of time without Joel Embiid and with expectation. That it will be on Tyrese Maxey for the first time in his career, really, to hold this team single-handedly afloat. That even dating back to past years, there was always James Harden there or Joel Embiid there or even Ben Simmons here for a short period of time. That there were other guys where the expectation fell on. It's now Tyrese Maxey's show to run. And I have a hard time being too hard on him because he's exceeded expectations by such a major margin every step to this point that if you were to rewind to the original draft when he was selected with that 21st overall pick and he gave the heartfelt speech with tears falling down his face about how the Sixers won't regret this. If you were to think just 4 years in, he's making an all-star game and really had an argument to start in that all-star game, that is beyond comprehensible. That right there is a massive win. But there are expectations thrown on him. But you know what? If Kevin Durant's ready to call him out and say he's ready to step up into a potential face of the league situation in a few years, who am I to doubt him? That I do think that Maxey, among other, is respected among his peers in a way that he is not yet among fans. And I saw our one tweet floating around showing some of the ins and outs of Tyrese, and one of the comments just said, "It's like when you take your kid back to school and realize he's the popular kid." That's a little bit what it feels like with Tyrese Maxey, man. That he's just so well liked by everyone. He's just perfect from a human being standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, and from an on-court standpoint, that the Sixers are so lucky that he fell to that 21st pick. That I mean no exaggeration in saying he fully kept open this championship window around Joel Embiid, and the darkness of the organization would be looking far worse if that was not the case. But luckily, Maxey is the light bulb that keeps things shining. I am thrilled by everything I saw from All-Star Weekend. I know that it was a little underwhelming when we talk about the events and the game as a whole, but this was still an experience that will be great from Tyrese from a long-term standpoint, from a networking standpoint. Maybe they get in the tampering mix as they start swinging for some big names in the free agent market or trade market this offseason. And I do think Tyrese is more of a staple of that pitch than I think we ever realized before. So shout out to Tyrese Maxey for continuing to do his thing. Cannot wait till the big things he's going to do in the short term and long term. Shout out to you guys for tuning into this video. Make sure you are smashing subscribe on the channel. Keep the Sixers Digest family growing. Drop a like on this video and let me know your thoughts on Tyrese as a whole. What is his ceiling as a player? How good can he truly be? Are we talking a top 10 NBA player, a top 25? I mean, he's clearly already an all-star as is. So I want to hear what your kind of comp for him and anything else that you got on your mind. Thank you guys once again. I'll be talking with you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.